I am live. So, okay. So if I'm live on my, so hi, if you guys are watching, which you're not yet, but that's okay. I got to figure out what I'm doing, and that's part of the first show. So that's okay. First show. Okay. So I'm going to share. Okay, so I'm going to share. Oh, that didn't work. Here we go. Oh, I think I did it. I think I did it. Let's see. Oops. Yeah, so this is how we're going to be like. So we're figuring out how to do it for the first time. Oh, there we are. Let's see. Okay. I think we're good to go. We even have one person watching. I don't even know who that is. Can you tell me who you are? We're going to be like. All right, I think we're live. We have 2 people watching. Can you guys drop a hello so I know who you are? Who's here? Who's here? We're going to give it a couple minutes before I bring on my special guest, my coach, Shasheen. I just kind of want to explain a little bit about why I'm doing this and what this is. This is So What Now What TV. And this is about you guys learning a tool from me that can really have an impact on your life. And I talk about So What Now What all the time on in my life. Like I wear these t-shirts all the time and I talk to people about it all the time, but now I really want to put it out there and explain what it's about. And the reason that hi, Mark, the reason that I want to do this and bring Shasheen on, my coach, is because I really want to give you guys a sense of where this came from. Like, so 5 years ago when I was working with my coach, Shasheen was my coach, this came out. And so this is not how all the episodes are going to go, but this is the first one. And so I want to kind of explain to everybody, like, this is how it happened. So without further ado, I'm going to see if I can handle the technology and bring him in. So here we go. Are you? So refresh. Okay. So refresh it because people are saying hi so they can see it. I've got my assistant back here. All right, where did you go, Shasheen? Come back. Did you just, there you go.
Is that it?
Oh, yeah, you're there.
Are we there? Okay.
Oh, there's Troy. Okay, so people are watching us. So don't mess it up. All right, so just to do a little introduction, Shasheen was my coach 5 years ago, and we're going to talk about what was going on 5 years ago in a little bit. When I was going through some stuff in my life, and we got through it, and the So What Now What was born, and we're going to talk about exactly what that story was and kind of tell you how to use this in your life and how it applies. But I really thought that the best way to kick off this series and this show was to have him back because he's so special to me, changed my life, helped me change my life, I should say. And so this is how we're going to do it. We're going to explain what So What Now It is. And so, Shasheen.
Yes.
How are you?
It's so great to be doing this with you. Have fun.
I know. I'm so excited.
We're actually doing a live Facebook thing. So this is it's all new and exciting for me. This is great.
Well, when I posted I was doing it, I had like a oh shit moment, like, oh my God, I'm doing this.
I think I had the same one. Like, are we really going live?
Yeah, we're really going live. So here we are.
I'm thrilled for the people that you're going to really be helping with this. It's so cool that this is what's happened after all this time. It's
I know. Here we are.
Story.
And I think Yeah, I want to just tell people this is a give. Like, I'm not asking for anything. I'm not starting, like, I'm not doing anything but wanting to support people and give tools and help people kind of get out of their own way with things that worked for me. So this is a give. This is not an ask. There is no ask involved. This is a give.
Yeah.
So I just really, really wanted to be clear about that. This is because I love you, and here I am. I love you all. And we might squat later. So if you haven't squatted yet, do that. So, Shasheen, this is going to kind of turn into more of you interviewing me and asking me questions, kind of lay all my vulnerability out there. So, tell me what, from your recollection, like, where were we when we first said hello?
Well, I think that wow.
Wait, I want to say one more thing. So when I told Robbins that I wanted a coach, I thought, because I was going through a divorce at the time, and I had a brand new baby and blah, blah, we'll get onto that. I thought they were going to give me a mom, a woman coach, female, who's been divorced, who's going to hold my hand through this process. And they gave me this guy, single guy living in Telluride, Colorado, like all attitude, big heart, like to kick my ass. And I'm so grateful I did not try and control that process. So there we go.
Well, that's right. And then the flip side of it was, here I am with this single mom of 3 kids under 7 who's in a sales position that's all commission. Where are we going with this? What are we going to do here? And that was it was impressive. It was and what I remember what occurred to me was, here's someone who is obviously disciplined, your fitness regime, you're a healthy, attractive, intelligent woman, coming to the table, having 3 kids, a series of circumstances. And I'm like, okay, well, interesting. And trying to untangle, right? Some of the storyline that you had was probably the biggest challenge that we were faced with. And trying to find a way to access that side of you that knew how to keep your, because at that time, I don't think I was in that same physical shape. I remember I admired the fact that you were such an athlete and you were like really physically disciplined. And I was definitely not, even though I skied all the time and all that. I go, that woman's got some really good stuff going on. Let's see what we can do to kind of apply that to the sales side. And we did. And so anyway, that was.
It was, yeah. I mean, so I just want to kind of be clear about where I was.
Yeah.
Asher was brand new baby. And I was now I'm going to just put it out there, right? So I was in the process of going through the tail end of a divorce. I had an affair. I blew up my life. I took a stick of dynamite to my life, and I was picking up the pieces and had lots of, getting pregnant before you're actually divorced 6 months out of your separation is a huge so what now what moment. Like, what? Okay, here we go. I was so much shame and so much guilt. And I almost felt like it was my responsibility to be a mess. But at the same time, I didn't have time to be a mess. I had 3 little kids. I had a full-time job that paid me when I performed, and trying to keep a house together, trying to make ends meet at the time. I'm in a different kind of situation right now, but because of this thing, but I was a hot freaking mess, and I needed someone to come into my life and shake me up. And so this is how this conversation went down. I think my ex-husband and I had gotten into an argument, and, that's par for the course when you're going through a situation like this. Nothing negative about him. That's not what this is about. This is about me and where I was. And I was going on and on. I was in a rant. I think I was in a trance, probably hypnotized by my story. And I was going on. And Shasheen says, Michelle, stop talking, loud. And I'm like, pattern interrupt. Okay. He's like, what do you is this predictable? Yes. Is this why you guys aren't together anymore? Yeah. Yes. So what? What do you want? And what are you willing to do about it? So what? Now what? And I was like, oh God. And that phrase, massively changed my life.
Yeah.
Massively changed my life.
Yeah, I mean, I think what was the interesting place that I found myself and that I find myself in conversations like that is that there's this really delicate balance of like listening to the story. I mean, because you had a story. I mean, I certainly was listening going like, I can't imagine being in that position, right? I was single, living in Telluride with a dog. 200 days a year. I'm like, I don't have 3 kids under the age of 7. So there's a bit of sensitivity that I got to bring to the conversation. I'm a guy. And so I'm listening to this, I'm listening to this. And it was kind of like week after week, there'd be another circumstance, there'd be another situation, there'd be another circumstance, there'd be another situation. But then there was a pattern basically, right? And that's what we covered was that, like you said, there was a predictable pattern. There was a predictable reaction. And every time that reaction happened, it ended up leaving you in a place where you weren't performing at work, you weren't getting things done. And I think that's the point, right? And I think that's the value of having someone that you trust in your life, that you're willing to have a communication with. Because, when, the old saying is you can't read the label from inside the jar. And my job at that point was to be like, let me read the label for you. This is what it sounds like. This is what it looks like. And I kept repeating back to you what you were saying to me. And at a certain point, I think, and this is what I love about the fact that you're doing this for other people now and just giving this back, is that there is a certain point where, you have to let somebody exhaust their conversation. They're like, yeah, okay, listen, yeah, okay, listen, yeah, okay, listen, absorb it all, capture it all, look at it all, and say, okay, there it is. That's what life, according to you, looks like. Mm-hmm. What we did is ultimately broke it down, and we started looking at and seeing some of the patterns, some of the things that you were saying, some of the things you were saying again and again and again, and some of it wasn't even true, right? And what we realized is that some of these persistent complaints that you had about other people and a lot of stuff outside of you was distracting from some of the internal stuff that you actually had the levers to control. I mean, so you might want to even talk about that too. It's just like,
well, I think I was so committed to waiting on everyone else's behavior around me to change so I could be okay.
Yeah. And it was the ultimate victimization, right?
Yeah, like when these people stop acting like fools and doing things to me, then I'll be okay.
Yeah.
And that is such a weak place to be. Right. Because the truth, we all know you can't control anyone else's behavior. Everyone else's perception of a situation is completely different. People are doing the best they can with what they know. Right. But if you can't own your own self, and I was, like I said, I was so, I almost felt like I was obligated to be miserable because what I had done in my life. Right. And okay, so what? Please, when I say this, I am not minimizing what I did. So what? You had an affair. You broke up your marriage. You got pregnant 6 months into your separation. So what? Right. You can't fucking change it. Sorry for my French. Now what are you going to do? Now what? And I had to, so what now what to me, so what is like a pivot in your life. Right now in this time this time of life with this thing going on, this is a so what now what moment, people. People are losing their jobs. People are stuck in their house with their kids. People are stuck with their spouses in their house. We don't so what? How are we going to be the heroes in our own rescue in this situation? And that's what I was learning to do in that moment. You were so consistent with me being accountable to take responsibility of what the frick was happening in my life.
Well, and I think that's it. It's interesting to put it that way. I mean, if I'm working live this happens to me when I work live one-on-one, when I'm with somebody in their office, for example, one of the things I'll notice is, I'll typically have a 2-hour session where I'll just interview somebody and I'll listen to what they have to say and I'll just write everything intently on the wall and I'll write, ask questions, write, and I'll intuitively just ask people about what's going on with them. What do they want? What's happening? And the totality of that, my goal in that situation is to capture the totality of the experience, how they are, right? There's a finite number of things that you can say about a particular situation, about a relationship, about kids, about, right? There's just only so much you can say. So at the end of the day, it's like, say it all. Here it is. This is the container. This is what it looks like. I'm in inverse here. This is the, this is the container of information that's available to you and how you speak about it. And if we were live in those days, and if we were face to face in those days, I would have showed you everything that you said up on a wall, and you would have been able to stare at it, look at it, and just say, this is your life. This is what you say. This is what you said to me now, week after week after week after week after week.
Boring.
Right. And so, right, but I think that that's really the point. And I think the piece, though, that I love about what you're going to do now and telling stories is just humanizing this. Like, this is what we do as human beings. We get hooked on something. I mean, especially now, whether it's the news, whether your political leanings, the situation, the circumstance. I mean, there's a lot of pain that's about to come forth for a lot of people in these different circumstances. And what we're going to find is when we get pushed up to that edge, a lot of our default pattern, a lot of our victim pattern, a lot of patterns will start to show up. We find ourselves in these complaints again and again and again. There's a tell in that. Yeah. And what there was for you at that time was a tell. It was a tell, like, okay, wait a second. Here's someone who's really strong, really smart, really capable, complaining about the same thing again and again and again and again and again. And I think the power of the dynamic was every time I showed it back to you, you were like, ugh. Every time I showed it back to you, you're like, ugh. Every time I showed it back to you, it was like, ugh. And that's where we got to. It's like, well, now what? And I think the dance back and forth allowed you to just kind of say, hey, okay, I got it. Well, what can we do?
Right.
What can we do? And I remember one of the biggest conversations that we had that changed, like, your approach to having these sales conversations. I think, because I remember I was in Boston, I was on the phone with you, and we talked about getting focused on making an impact on the people that you were speaking to. And instead of counting the number of calls that you made, it was like, just start having some meaningful conversations and get committed to these people. And you remember we had this conversation about don't sell out on these guys. They're going to give you their stories. They're going to give you their excuses. And they've been doing it their whole life. And I think there was something in that conversation that, like, clicked for you in your own life, and then clicked for you as somebody that was really committed to making a difference in other people's lives, that really made an impact. And you went from like 0 to 100 in like, what? It was a matter of a couple of weeks.
Yeah. I mean, I think I stopped focusing on what was going on with me and started caring about other people. Yeah. And that's okay. Now what? I gotta take my eyes off the bullshit in my life and help other people with the bullshit in their life. Yeah. And that was a huge pivot for me. And the thing is I'm not a master of anything. Like, I don't claim to be the best at anything.
Right.
But I am a fucking kick-ass overcomer.
Yeah.
I'm a master of overcoming. And in the last 5 years, because this was 5 years ago, in the last 5 years, there's shit that's come and slapped me in the face. There's things that have happened. There's been disappointments. There's been arguments. There's like patterns with people are still the same, but I'm different. Yeah. I'm doing something I'm trying to take responsibility for how I feel and how I show up. I'm not great at it all the time. I'm not. But I have an awareness like, oh, that's not good. That was not good. And I think a big thing that I will say that this So What Now thing is about is kind of looking at what you're tolerating in your life from others, but more importantly, from yourself. Like, what are you tolerating? And I wrote this thing down because I journal and I don't want to mess it up, so I'm going to read it. I think So what is always the challenge in your life. So what is always what's wrong, right? What's been wrong. And then now what is the solution and the action. And the learning is in the breath, in the moments between those two things.
Yeah, that's great.
So I want to teach people, or I want to give people an opportunity to like get in the space between your so what, now what, find your strength and start acting. I mean, last night we did a meditation with Master Co with Tony Rodriguez, and I just like, that was like, you got to get quiet with yourself and remember who you are, remember your strength, and just trust and pivot towards, like, be in the silence of the in between it, gather yourself, and then move. You know, my boyfriend, his thing is keep moving to keep moving. Like, if you stop moving, you'll stop moving.
And I think that it's also really important. I think what you said is right. Like, you know, so what describes the problem? And I think we as human beings in general are really good at articulating what we don't want, what we don't. We're very tuned into expressing dissatisfaction, frustration, upset. I think we live in a world that lends itself to feeling victimized at the effect of the circumstances that are around us. It's hard not to be in that kind of mentality a lot of times. And I think that one of the things that I also remember as I was telling the story about, like, you know, typically when I'll write stuff down on a board when I do it live, you know, one of the things that I think that you did really well during those days was that you journaled a lot, you wrote down a lot of stuff. I gave you a lot of writing time that I think allowed you to just take all of the noise that was just like venting out of you. And you got to see it for yourself by writing it out yourself. You got to like say, okay, these are all the things. He's this, he's that, he's this, he's that. This is this, this is that. And right. And then basically, as I recall it, like you went through it and we went through it together and looked at, like, okay, is that really true? Like, is that the reality? In some ways, I think the moment that I'm hoping, like, well, I know you're hoping, I know you're committed to giving, like, people in this world that moment of realization when you realize the cage that you're in right now is self-imposed, no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter what.
No matter what.
The circumstances can be what they are, but your experience in that moment is within your control. And I think that that's what happened for you, is that, like, you just, the lights went on, you were like, enough. I can do these things. I think the more we can tell stories, the more that you can tell these stories, the more you can tell these stories. And it's hard for me being in this industry and, like, to speak, you know, I forget what it's like the first time I heard somebody first. I mean, I think all too often I felt alone, like no one else would get it. And I think the best service to possibly do is just keep sharing stories of other people that hit that wall.
Well, and that's really what I want to inspire people to do. I want people to figure out what, like my so what now what moment was like, and I've had multiple so what now what moments. That sounds like something else, but it's not. But I've had multiple so what now what moments in my life, and I kind of want to help people fast track with this tool through those things.
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about you. What was the so what now what moment for you that you've had recently?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I've been writing this book, I think, for the last 6 years. And I'll take one on myself right now. I mean, the biggest thing for me in these last couple of years have been just simply, like, being terrified to be judged. Even this right now for me is a stretch, being on a live Facebook feed. I haven't done this yet, where we're interacting, and the desire to not mess it up, the desire to look good, the desire to, like, worried about what other people think. It's like, whoa, that is a default pattern inside of me that gets in the way of taking action on a lot of different things in my life. And then now it was like getting committed to, really getting clear, like, what is this about for me? Well, I actually have a strong desire to share the collected wisdom that I've had this unique lens into lives with some really incredible people in this world. And the stories and the experiences and the commonality of humanity within them are really valuable. And I want to be able to share them and make that accessible to people. So once I committed to that outcome, then now what was, okay, am I really gonna not do this, or am I gonna really keep procrastinating on this because I'm worried about what other people think? And again, I can listen to all the Brene Brown in the world. I could read The Arena a bunch of different times. I'm still terrified. But I can also apply a little bit of compassion and just say, okay, yeah, I'm scared, and you know what? It's okay. So what? Yeah. Now, get it out, release the book, be out there and be vulnerable, and it's going to be just fine. But that's awesome. There's got to be a commitment that you're actually aligned with. And I think once you find that, and once you can actually speak to that, all the little rust and all the little stuff that's in the way, with the help of some good coaching and some good mentorship and some other people and some perspective, allows you to take that action. But again, focusing there versus focusing on, oh, I don't want to be that guy going, here you go, here's what you got to go do. Like, I'm not going to be that guy. Right? But that's the so what now at moment.
No, and I mean, it's all so juicy and so yummy, and I think we could probably talk for hours and hours about this. What I want to know from the people that are watching, or people that watch in the future that don't catch it right now, like, what do you want to solve in your life? What do you need? Like, what do you need from, what would be a great conversation, what expert can I bring on for you that is going to answer a so what problem? Like, I don't care. Like, I don't know. Is it divorce? Is it weight loss? Is it job loss? Is it health? Is it moving your body? Like, what is it that we need to solve for you? Like, so what, now what is actually what now, right? When you look at it. So I just really want to know how I can support people. Oh, Shasheen, what is your background and how did you lead into coaching? Like, someone's asking, how'd you get into coaching?
That's a great question. So I'd say twofold, right? So I kind of came into the world from the private equity investment banking side of the business world, and ended up doing a variety of different things within the business community, startups, had my own startup, worked as a consultant. And at the same time, from a very, very young age, I studied philosophy in college, and I was very interested in this human experience. I mean, the summary of my childhood was like the day that they handed out the instruction manual on life. I was absent that day, and I spent my entire life searching for that instruction manual. My life, like this study of like what is going on, and my dad issues, and being this immigrant Indian kid in a white man's world. I mean, right, that whole story. So I went on my own personal journey. And I got into the self-help world really young, at the age of 19, 1989. And from that experience on my own journey, I found myself in these conversations around business and strategy, which I loved, and I have a knack for business and strategy, and I love that. But I realized the business and the strategy wasn't the hard part. It was the people that were the hard part. And so my practice evolved over time into really looking at the human beings within the system of business. And that's how I really got my start in the world.
Well, and thank God you did.
Yeah. Thank God I did too. My goodness.
I know. Does anyone else have any questions? Any questions about anything? I love this comment from your and my friends, Shasheen.
Oh, Melissa. Hi, Melissa.
I love it. So what? This is what. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Well, I just want to let you guys know that I'm gonna do these broadcasts, Show It Now at TV, Monday nights, Tuesday nights, and Thursday nights. And tomorrow we're gonna have a mentor and an inspire of mine, Tony Rodriguez, is gonna be on the program. He's doing this amazing, he's part of the reason that I felt comfortable doing this, because I've been watching him do this for so long. I'm like, success leaves clues, right? And I want to put oh, here's Melissa again. She's still here. Wait. Oh, I did it. Okay. So I'm going to have Tony on tomorrow because he's got such a great message and such awesome stuff. And then on Thursday, Brian Bradley from Egoscue is going to come on the show with us. And we're going to talk about, so what, my body hurts. Like, my body hurts. And Egoscue and Brian Bradley, first of all, he's funny. And sorry if he offends anyone, but his humor is a little bit crude sometimes, but it's great. I have something. What is this, Christina? What are you saying? Sorry. Anyway, so Brian's. Sorry, I'm late. Finishing dinner. Oh, thank you. You're awesome. So Brian's coming on Thursday, and I'll give you guys a heads up as to what time. But if there's someone that you want me to try and get, hey, I'll try and get him. I'll try and get Joseph McClendon. I'll try and get anybody. You know, I think that what's so great about influencers and leaders, it's happening in this time, is that the ones that are showing up are the ones that really want to give right now. Yeah. And I think that we want to just be part of that. I want to be a giver. I want to be a leader, a giver, an inspirer. That's why I make you guys squat. But if there's anything else you guys want to talk about, let me know. Yeah. Shasheen, I think this has been amazing.
I mean, I was so thrilled to get the call and so thrilled to know that this is what you were doing. And at the same time, as nervous as I was, I'm like, oh my God, am I really gonna do a Facebook thing with you online? I'm like,
well, no, to be honest, when I said, when I hit the button, yeah, I had a moment. I'm like, when I hit the button, so what now? TV's launching. I was like, oh shit. And then
so great. I really like the commitment that you have, and everyone who's watching this. I mean, stay with this woman and stay with this conversation, because it really is the conversation. It's this human thing that we all do. And I think telling stories about people's version of it will just help us all, myself, everyone included in this conversation, human beings. Just, yeah. It's inevitable.
I'm really, really, there's some things that I figured out, and I'm still figuring out stuff out, but I'm in this, the man in my life is the dream of my life. He's amazing. And I think part of the reason that I attracted that is because I finally knew what I was worth. So I just have figured some shit out, and I want to share. I just want to share. Yeah. So do you this is another person that wants to say hi.
Laura. Laura. That's awesome.
I know. Okay. All right. You guys are the best. I love you all. Shasheen, I love you the most. Don't hang up. I'm going to leave the broadcast, but we're going to chat real quick. And you guys share this. Share this with as many people as you can. And we'll see you tomorrow night. Mwah!
See you. Thanks, guys.